Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we are on the Isle of the Crimson Skulls for some Empire against Tomb King action. And this time around I decided to shy away from the usual artillery heavy build I like to run and go with something a little more daring, and decided to bring a whole bunch of cavalry to the field. So one of the things that surprisingly works okay against Tomb Kings is very cavalry heavy Empire builds. If your opponent goes very defensive oriented with, say, Ushabti Great Bows and Bone Giants, you can kind of rush them, punch through their infantry screen, get on top of their backline oftentimes, and really disrupt it pretty efficiently. And at the same time, if your opponent just goes infantry heavy, you can kind of cycle charge them and control them that way. So what I decided to do here, I did bring Boris Todbringer. I really do like him for his buffs, debuffs, and all that. Well, actually mostly debuffs. And of course he does still have some stuff like Hold the Line here. He does a Foe Seeker, of course, and most importantly, he's got his own self-healing with Midland Runefang, and I really enjoy that. I also like the fact that you want the Griffin, you can get that AP damage, which is really nice. Alongside him, I did bring a Jade Wizard with a Regrowth Earthblood as well as Life Bloom and a Power Stone. I'm pretty excited for the Regrowth changes, in fact. Currently, Regrowth is still providing physical resistance, but I think that once it reinvigorates units, that's actually going to be huge for Empire. It's going to make units like Demigryph Knights much better, in fact, than the current Regrowth does. Otherwise, we do have a front line here of doubled up spearmen. This is a bit of a crappy front line, but with 37 melee defense, they can hold okay against things like skeleton warriors, tomb guard halberds. None of these troops can really steamroll a spearman unit super quickly, because despite their kind of trashy offensive stats, they hold okay. Triple units of Knights of the Blazing Sun, because you really want that damage output, that monstrous charge coming in to dumpster squishy infantry, and then doubled up Demigryph Knights with halberds, one of which is the Royal Griffites. These guys can kind of mince through the big monsters. Finally, here in the back, we do have doubled up Outriders with grenade launchers, who are amazing at mulching through low-end squishy troops. Unfortunately, they're immediately going to come under some hate from these carrion. My opponent brought a lot of carrion. He's got one unit over there, one unit over here. I do believe there was 5 or 6 units of them. There's one unit over there, and then 3 in the back. So he just has me surrounded with these disgusting vultures from the desert. Over here, he does have Cetro the Imperishable for his lord. He is mounted on a horse to get that anti-large and AP. So this is my opponent's anti-large contingent. This is kind of cool concept here. You do have the Lich Priest of Light, who only has the net, alongside Nefarious Scrolls of Mighty Incantations and Enkil's Kanapai. Now, personally, what I would do, I'd probably ditch Enkil's Kanapai, which doesn't really do much for you against Empire, and I'd probably get, like, Phos Protection. I think that would be much better. Otherwise, Cetro the Imperishable is coming in with a few abilities as well, though I don't believe he's got any casting abilities. Oh, he actually does have Joust, Incantation, of Cursed Blade, so there is a little bit of magic there. Wrath of Tra and Blessed Blade of Tra, so he's got a whole bunch of cool stuff going on for him. And finally, there's the Tomb Prince over here, who does have Tomb Strike and, of course, Guardian, so he's going to be buffing both Cetra and the Lich Priest a little bit, keeping them intact. For his infantry line, which is really where my opponent invested very heavily, he brought the Communication Scorpion Legion, he brought the Kepler Guard, probably expecting some infantry commitment from me. And then out on the flanks, he's actually got 4 units of Tomb Guard with halberds, and these guys are actually not bad against Empire Cap. They'll definitely tear them down, especially if my opponent can get some nice nets. They're going to be able to tear them apart. So immediately I'm going to start pushing forward with my spears. You can see my Outriders with grenade launchers running for dear life, but then repositioning here to start barraging these Tomb Guard with halberds. And let's watch this opening volley comes into these Tomb Guard, who have, if we compare them to the normal Tomb Guard, you can see 7380 HP, and it's going to come in here, and this volley just does some monstrous damage. It's an instant, basically 2,000 damage done to these poor Tomb Guard with halberds, so that's a huge amount of damage. Now the carrion are going to come in, being a nuisance, but the Knights of Blazing Sun are on station, coming into support, coming to force these clowns off, and the Outriders will be just fine, and they're going to be able to stick around and keep barraging my opponent's infantry. Meanwhile, the Spears are going to start committing here. Unfortunately, the carrion really angry, and really not wanting to let my Outriders fire. My opponent kind of because this is kind of the big threat here. If my opponent can get rid of my Outriders with grenade launchers, my ability to cycle charge or to blow up this infantry is going to be kind of challenged. But you can see the carrion are going to dive in. My Knights of the Blazing Sun are getting forced off a little bit, but I'm going to commit them here, just trying to force off this carrion, get rid of this harass and this nuisance, these nuisance units. So the Outriders are going to be in full retreat. They do lose a few miles, but you know it is what it is. And in the meantime, we're committing on all flanks here with our heavy cav, just trying to wipe them out. Boris over here also doing a great job destroying this unit of carrion. So we're able to kind of mop up these flyers. And here my opponent made a huge mistake getting caught up on these spears. You can see they're not doing well at all. They're getting completely dumpstered, but surprisingly, they're doing some okay damage here, which is a little shocking. I think some of this was grenades earlier, but they're bogging down multiple units at once. There's this lone 350-ish, because they've got chevrons, Veteran, a 350-ish gold unit is holding up a unit for 325 or 300, and Tomb Guard with Halberds, which is at 850 or whatever. So we're getting huge value there. My opponent isn't really able to shut down my Knights of the Blazing Sun. You can see he's trying to shut down these Outriders, so I actually turn off their... I turn them on to defensive guard mode, and then I'm going to clear up all of these carrying here while pounding the enemy infantry blob with my grenade launchers. You can see we're up to 5 kills already, 10 kills over there, but a lot of this is going to be HP damage, just mulching these crappy infantry. Earthblood is going down trying to heal my troops, but you can see despite the sacrifice of the Demigryph Knights to stall Cetra and company, we've managed to clear up the carrion. For most part, they're basically gone. There's just this single unit left over here, this unit over there. And my opponent's troops are not really going to be able to tie down my Knights of the Blazing Sun. And at this point, if he attempts to go mobile, if he tries to catch me with his Tomb Prince, etc., and the Mage, we can kind of countercharge them because we do have the Demigryphs and the Knights of the Blazing Sun even, and the Relative Gryphites, of course. And if my opponent decides to sort of camp and sit tight, we have a lot of high explosives to teach him a lesson. You can see these Outriders with the Lancers actually still have 33 models. They've only lost about half their troops. These guys over here still on 35, so they really don't care. And just look at this damage coming in hot and heavy, just exploding in the midst of these skeletons. And it's important to go after the clumps. You don't want to waste it. Well, if your opponent starts dispersing a little bit, you don't want to waste your ammo there. You see these guys just so low on HP, getting completely destroyed. And, you know, our still have a lot of ammo. They've got a ways to go. And they're almost on 1 chevron, just destroying these troops. In comes Boris. My opponent, you know, trying to regroup, which is the right idea. Trying to clump up his infantry. He's finally forced off my spears. Bit of a misplay here, though, in my opinion. Not using Cetra and the Tomb Prince to try to chase down or permanently shatter these units. But you can see Boris is actually going to come in here, tie these guys down, try to blob them up, and in come the Knights to do a little bit of damage. So we're going to get some good value here with these guys without their bracing. We're going to take a beating. And the grenades, just look at them. These Tomb Guard are completely goners. Just barely any HP left. Over here you can see the Life Wizard coming around. And we're actually going to wheel around with this unit of Cav as well, trying to get in on those Kepler Guard. And, you know, these Tomb Guard basically goners. We are going to be forced to rout once again. The Spearman's still in full retreat. But the grenades keep flying in. And almost at a chevron there. Almost at a chevron. 86 kills. We just hit a chevron. These guys 52 kills. And just getting so close to that chevron. Now my opponent is going to get in here with Cetra. He's actually going to take a few of these guys down, which is kind of unfortunate. You know, they're trying their little hearts out. But they're going to be able to extricate themselves. And Cetra, trying to push in and pursue, is going to be zoned off by this very angry Revolt of Gryphites, by Boris, of course, who's still in the air and pretty healthy. And over here, Knights of the Blazing Sun, picking apart the Kepler Guard. Of course, very weak against fire damage. They do have regen, which is actually a disadvantage in this situation. And so the Knights of the Blazing Sun are going to get in there, do a bit of damage, and then pull away before the King Kesh's Scorpion Legion can come in and help. And in the meantime, the kite game is strong. The Outriders with grenade launchers are still doing so much work. My opponent's efforts to get in there with his hero and his caster and all that are just kind of fell flat on their face when faced with the raw might of the Relative Gryphites and the grenade launchers. And you can see these guys now up to chevron, going on to chevron number 2 apiece, and they still have a lot of ammo to go. They are nowhere near done. And my opponent now getting strung out. He's kind of overwhelmed these spears a second time. But they're spears, so I just don't really care. And Knights of the Blazing Sun now wheeling away, escaping, and not catchable. Cetra's too slow. He's got 76 speed to their 71. He's not really going to be able to put him down. And I'm making sure to keep shooting at new units with my Outriders. You can see the Outriders here, 35 and 59 kills, and just, or sorry, 110 and 35 models, 32 models, and they're up in the hundreds for the kills, and they're just mulching these infantry blobs. And we're able to cycle charge in and out, get some lovely Earthbloods. Our spears are now coming back in to tie my opponent down. Unfortunately, a good summon of Ushapti here is going to cause me some issues, but you know, these Tomb Guard, they're crumpling. They're going to be gone in a few seconds. They're goners. The King Kesh's Scorpion Legion and the Kepler Guard aren't really the biggest threats to Cav, so my opponent is running out of options. He's down to the Tomb Guard with Halberds, who are being debuffed a huge amount by Boris. Ushapti, who are going to get torn apart by the Gryphites. And then his hero squad, really, and like a handful of infantry. But the infantry is getting mulched by grenade launcher fire. You can see 116 kills, 66, well on their way to more chevrons. And more bombardments just coming in, pouring in. And the cavalry is relatively immune, which is pretty awesome. I do believe in the tabletop, the grenade launcher is actually an anti-armor option, but in this game they are not. They can do okay against armored infantry, but they're really great at just destroying these infantry mobs. And let's watch King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion here take a pounding from some Empire High Explosive, another 2,000 HP shaved off, and you know, 45 armor, not really saving grace here. 2 chevrons now, well on their way to the second for the other unit, and in comes this unit of Knights of Blazing Sun, coming in for the recharge. We are starting to see our healing caps come on, which kind of sucks, but despite my opponent's best efforts, he's just not able to really decide this fight. The Tomb Prince, he's trying, but he's getting beaten down. The halberds are finally running out of options here. Our outriders, you know, they're not getting caught. They're just kiting away and pounding the King of Scorpion Legion, which is now crumbling, very low on HP. And in come the Knights of Blazing Sun, charging through their friends there with the grenade launchers, and they're just going to demolish King of Scorpion Legion. Instantly, they're going to fall apart, and just the pounding assault just completely shatters them. The Knights of Blazing Sun get poisoned, but for a second, but who cares? At this point, it is basically GG for my opponent. Certainly, he's able to break a few troops. Certainly, he's going to be able to force out my Demigryph Knights. He's going to be able to force me to pull out my Knights of Blazing Sun for a little bit. But at this point, it's Boris, the Jade Wizard, and some Gryphites coming in to finally mop up. And at this point, the Outriders have run out of ammo. These Outriders are also very low, but we're just going to pull away. We're going to tear these guys to shreds. Last sort of gasp here with Jaff's Incantation of Cursed Blades, but really it's nothing that my opponent can do. Boris is in there, providing his great debuffs. The Tomb Prince is completely getting smushed, and you know, we're grinding it out. The Lich Priest isn't a real threat, to be honest. It's only Cetra, and out of this point, my opponent's army is simply going to shatter. 2 army losses. So very well played to my opponent. It was a pretty cool build with the massive infantry and the loss of Carrion. But in the end, it just didn't work out. Outriders did an amazing job against this sort of build. And this is, if you're playing as Tomb Kings, and I actually, against Empire, in my opinion, it is a great idea to go very wide. Personally, I prefer bringing more normal Tomb Guard and less Carrion and perhaps some cavalry for some flexible anti-large. But certainly, you can make very wide builds work. It's not a bad idea against Empire. But you need to be aware of the explosive options Empire can bring to the table. First of all, Great Swords are going to dumpster you. They're going to do a great job. Second of all, Outriders with grenade launchers and mortars are going to do a number on you. And the Outriders with grenade launchers here just brutalize my opponent's formation. 121 or 152 kills. That's essentially a unit apiece wiped out. But when you factor in the HP damage they did a lot more than that. There's just no way. These are 800 gold units, and they were destroying 850 gold Tomb Guard Halberds. I think it's 600 gold King of Kesha's Scorpion Legion. Multiple hundreds of gold worth of units here just destroyed by a concentrated Outrider fire backed by a handful of charges of the Blazing Sun. So really don't underestimate the Outriders with grenade launchers. Bring some archers, in my opinion. That is the way to go with Tomb Kings. Now certainly it's at that point it becomes a little risky. You got to make sure your archers can't get caught by the Outriders with grenade launchers, because if your opponent is cheeky, I do this myself sometimes, I'll rush in with the Outriders, bomb down the archers and secure or deny my opponent any ability to contest the range game. But definitely archers can zone off Outriders. Otherwise, you can try Ushabti Great Bows. Not a terrible pick. They do okay against Empire Artillery as well. But definitely, you want some tools to deal with Outrider grenade launchers. Carrion are an okay choice, but they won't. If your opponent has cav presence, they're not going to be able to shut down Outriders with grenade launchers permanently or efficiently. Regardless, good game to my opponent. Light Messenger here, definitely cool sort of concept or a cool build in my opinion. As for my build, I think it's not necessarily the most competitive because it is very micro-intensive to be constantly using these Knights of Blazing Sun, who are very cycle charge dependent, to keep your Outriders out of harm's way, to keep your Demigryph Knights where they need to be, all that sort of stuff. It's a pretty micro-intensive build, but I think it's a fun build, and if you do have the micro to make it work, or your opponent may not be necessarily the best opponent, whatever the case may be, or maybe mix of both in some cases. If you especially with the micro to make it work, though, I think it's the way to go, guys. It's a fun way to go. You can have a lot of enjoyment, in my opinion, with a heavy cat build. But regardless, well played to my opponent, Light Messenger here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining to see some skeletons blown to Kingdom Come. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I really do appreciate the support. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, as usual, do not hesitate to ask. I always do my best to respond as soon as I can. And I do make sure to read all your responses, and I appreciate the input. So I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.